Alright, hello there. Welcome back to another video of my pro tips for DBD Mobile. Last video I know I briefly talked about Prestige, and I'm just going to show you what that actually looks like real quick, since I can Prestige David and my clown. So as you can see, I have none. Oh, excuse me. I need to stop recording in the morning. I don't have any like Prestige rewards on David because I haven't Prestiged him yet. But then, bam, Prestiged. So as you can see, he was reset to level 1, only has his 3 teachable perks. It's whatever. But then if we go to his cosmetics, we go to his body, we now have access to the bloody cosmetic, which is the first prestige. And then the same thing happens if we go to clown. As you can see, I only have the first reward. But then if we prestige, you get like the little sound as well. You go in, and now all of a sudden, we have the bloody clown outfit. So that's pretty cool. So for today's video, I'm just gonna be giving you a my opinion on which killers you should level first. This is gonna work the same way that my survivor video is gonna work. So I'll give you an honorable mention. I'll give you my top 3 that I would recommend getting right away. So to kick things off, my honorable mention is going to be the Hag. The Hag's a really unique killer. She's one of my absolute favorites. Her 3 teachable perks, let me just pull it up real quick, consist of Hex, the third seal, Hex Ruin, and then Hex Devour Hope. I had trouble ranking her here, but I think honorable mention is honestly the best place to put her for beginners because Hex perks are very unique. I'm actually going to go over them in 2 videos from now explaining secondary game mechanics. So that's going to be Obsession, Hex perks. So yeah, her perks, the third seal kind of sucks, not going to lie. It just pretty much when you smack survivors, it causes blindness until the totem's cleansed, which is pretty useless. It's good in meme builds, but not too good. Hex Ruin, on the other hand, very powerful, especially on killers that can pressure off gens like the Legion. Since it automatically regresses generators, it lets you, like, if you run around Feral Frenzy, smack a couple of people, get them off generators, they're going to start losing time, which is very good. And then Devour Hope is honestly one of the absolute strongest killer perks in the game when it actually works. Because it's a Hex totem, it can be destroyed like 10 seconds into the game, or it could not be destroyed at all. And if you read it, basically, once you get enough tokens, you can just straight up kill people without a Mori. So that's incredibly powerful. The one-shot exposed as well, very powerful. This is honestly, like, when it works, I would argue the strongest killer perk in the game, but because it's a Hex perk and because of the way it works, I wouldn't really recommend it on beginners. So definitely once you get a little bit more experience, feel free to try out the Hag, see what Hex perks I have to offer. So yeah, so jumping into my number 3 recommendation, we have the chonky boy himself, Mr. Clown. So his 3 teachables consist of Bamboozle, Colorophobia, and Pop Goes the Weasel. The Clown is kind of weird because he has 2 very strong perks, and he has one that's kind of gimmicky. I'm just trying to think how to explain this. So Bamboozle essentially makes it so that you vault windows faster, which is kind of pointless. It's very little. But the reason you run Bamboozle is because after you vault the window, it becomes blocked, so survivors just can't use it. It's very good at just shutting down loops. I'm actually going to click on it real quick. It's really good at just shutting down loops like the Killer Shack that are incredibly powerful. One of the better chasing perks in the game. Then his second teachable, Colorophobia. It's really good at what it does, but what it does is very situational. It basically makes it so that survivors inside your terror radius have a massive penalty to healing. This is really good at comboing things like self-care or very altruistic teams that want to heal like right next to you. But once survivors realize that you're running this, they're just going to go heal elsewhere outside your terror radius. It's really decent on like meme builds with distressing. Like if you're running a massive terror radius on Doctor, then this could be kind of funny. But like I said, it's not a terrible perk. It's just really situational. Yeah. On the other hand, Pop Goes the Weasel is probably one of the strongest killer perks in the game. So basically, after hooking a survivor, Pop Goes the Weasel activates for 60 seconds at level 3. While it's active, if you break a generator, it gets reset 25%. So let's say that there's a generator at 95%, you hook a survivor, run over, kick it with Pop, all of a sudden it's back down to like 70%. And since generators take an average of 80 seconds, about, give or take, depending on if they hit skill checks, for great skill checks, I should say, for one survivor to do one generator, it's about 80 seconds. So 25% total is about 20 seconds, which is honestly like a lot of time. And it really helps you fight for early gens, helps you fight for like late game. It's very powerful, one of the best slowdown perks in the game. Definitely would recommend getting Clown just for Bamboozle and Pop. So then my second mention is gonna be the Spirit. The Spirit is a very powerful killer, probably one of the best, if not the best killer in the game. However, I'm only recommending based on their teachable perks, not on their actual killer power. Because I think every killer is viable. You just have to learn how to play them effectively, and you just need to practice, honestly. Like, I love playing Clown. Don't get me wrong, Clown sucks, but I do well with him. You know, I'm at rank 1, so her teachables consist of Spirit Fury, Hex Haunted Ground, which is a Hex perk, as it sounds, and then Rancor. What Spirit Fury does, it's one of the strongest chasing perks in the game. So after you break up to 2 pallets, it's level 4, or at level 1 it's 4, level 2 it's 3, and at level 3 it's 2. That sounds very confusing. Basically, at max level, you only have to break 2 pallets before it activates. So when it's activated, if you get stunned, the pallet immediately breaks, and you still get stunned. But if you combo this with a Hillbilly perk called Enduring, which is the first Hillbilly teachable, and since everyone has Hillbilly, it's really easy. This cuts your This cuts the pallet stun rate by 50%. So like you have an almost instant recovery from getting pallet slammed. And when you combo that with Spirit Fury, if you have like no stun penalty and then the pallet immediately breaks, you can just swing and hit survivors. Like, who cares? It's one of the better chasing perks in the game. Enduring Spirit Fury is a very powerful combo, but it's predictable. So once survivors see that you either have Spirit Fury or that you have Enduring, they're just going to start dropping pallets early to sort of counter that. It doesn't like take anything away from it. It's still a very good combo, and you'll definitely get some good mileage out of it. Her second perk, Hex Haunted Ground, basically it spawns 2 totems instead of the usual 1, which, as I said, I'll explain Hex totems in like 2 videos. Once one is cleansed, all survivors become exposed for up to 60 seconds at tier 3. Keep in mind that the duration of a tier 3 Myers is 60 seconds without add-ons. So basically, once survivors counter or cleanse this totem, you become a tier 3 Myers for a little bit, which is very powerful. Hex Haunted Ground is used just on killers that have a hard time downing survivors, just since it allows you to get some easy downs as long as I cleanse your totem. It's also used as like insurance for other Hex totems. So like if you're running Ruin from the Hag, if you're running Ruin from the Hag, survivor's like, oh, he has Ruin, I should probably go cleanse that. And they happen upon a totem, they're like, oh, it's a lit totem, it's the Ruin, I gotta cleanse it. It's Haunted Ground, and all of a sudden, Ruin is still up, everyone's exposed, so that's not very fun. Speaking of exposed, I'm also going to talk about, in my video after the secondary game mechanics, I'm going to talk about status effects and what exactly each one does. Alright, so then the third thing, Rancor. This is an obsession perk. Like I said, I'll cover obsession perks at some point. So every time a generator is completed, you see all survivors for, I think it's 5 seconds at level 3. And then once all the generators are completed, the obsession is exposed and you can like kill your obsession. That means you can mori them and just take them out of the game. The obsession does have a warning that you're running this, however, because they will see your aura every time a generator is completed. This combos really well with another perk, or I shouldn't say really well, it just combos with it, called Remember Me. Remember Me makes it so that every time you hit your obsession, the exit gates take longer to open, but the obsession is not affected. So that means the obsession can open at the regular speed. With Ranker, though, if the obsession's like, oh, I can just get killed right away, I'm not going to go anywhere near the exit gate, it kind of scares them away from doing that, which combos decently, if you're really going for an endgame build. So then the last killer I'm going to recommend, or the first one I'm going to recommend that you get, is without a doubt the Plague. The Plague has 3 of the absolute strongest perks in the game. And considering they all come in one killer, it's kind of a no-brainer that you want to get the Plague. So her first perk, Corrupt Intervention, blocks the 3 furthest generators for up to 2 minutes. This is insane. On killers that need setup time, like Hag and like Trapper, this will buy you the early game. It'll allow you time to set up traps, make a web as Hag, and then force survivors towards you, like towards your traps, towards your web. So on killers with a really poor early game, this can definitely compensate for that, and it's just ridiculous. I know that you only have the perk for 2 minutes, because after the 2 minutes are done, it goes away. But if you play right in those 2 minutes, you can honestly change the entire outcome of the game. It's very powerful. Then Infectious Fright. Infectious Fright's really interesting. So when you down a survivor, all survivors within your terror radius scream and reveal their location. So this is a really good perk, like information perk. It lets you make some really snap decisions on what to do. So let's say that you've been chasing somebody. You think that they're like on comms or like a survive with friends. So you down them, and then all of a sudden you see 3 other people yell within your terror radius, and you're like, oh, one person's over by the hook, one person's behind me, one person's over on the generator to my right. In that second, you're going to say, okay, if I pick her up, or pick up the survivor I downed, the person over by the hook might sabotage it. The person behind me could come in and go for the flashlight save. The other person's on the generator, I really don't have to worry about them. That sort of allows you to make a really good decision as to what you want to do in that second, because if you realize, hey, if I pick this person up, there's a very good likelihood they escape, or they wiggle out. It allows you to maybe play differently or make a different decision that is going to benefit you much, much more. It's also a really good information perk on killers like Myers when he's in tier 3 and has a standard 32-meter terror radius. When you down somebody, you see everyone else. And when you can one-shot everybody, this is really powerful. So you can down one person, see where 2 other people are, go over, down them, find the last person. And all of a sudden, you have all 4 people down. Infectious Fright, honestly, is very powerful. And then finally, her last perk, Dark Devotion. This is probably her worst perk, but it's still a very good perk. It's, again, another obsession perk. I'll explain those in a few videos. So when you hit the obsession with a basic attack, I'll explain what basic attacks are and secondary attacks are in a little bit in the next video. Basically, the obsession emits a 32-meter terror radius for 20 seconds, and you're granted the undetectable status effect. Like I said, I'm going to explain all the status effects in a few videos. Undetectable basically makes it so that you don't have a terror radius, you don't have a red stain, you cannot be read by it, like your aura can't be read or anything. So basically what this lets you do is you hit the obsession, and all of a sudden, you can just sneak around, find other people, maybe grab somebody off gens or just interrupt them. It's really powerful and allows you to make some like really cheeky plays. It's pretty funny. Definitely like a little bit more situational than Infectious Fright or Corrupt Intervention, but definitely still a really powerful perk I'd recommend. Alright, so like I said, that was my list of killers I'd recommend getting right away. Next video I'm going to talk about Survivor Side, same thing. Honorable mention, the 3 I would pick. And then the video after, I know I've already said this, secondary game mechanics and status effects. So to make sure you don't miss out on any of that, make sure you sub so you know when stuff is coming out. See ya.